Hello, everybody. Hey, Legend, how are you doing? But you, for the recording, you don't have to break up now, right? The DAO call is afterwards. Yeah, I mean, it's a good initiative on your part to also record the bounty call. But as far as I understand, you don't strictly have to. Your job description only says to record the DAO call, if I am informed correctly. Yeah. I'm just typing down the things to cover today, aka agenda. And I'll ping the bounty fund owners, and then we can get started. Okay, who do we have here today? Jimmy's here, Benny's here, Kirk's here. Hey, Scientist Show. I see you have your DAO prospect rollback, Scientist Show. There was some confusion on Sunday because you somehow lost the roll and people were not sure if you maybe sold your grape. Good, well, it got cleared up. Hey, Tajai.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. Hey. Yeah. Sorry, did you ask any questions? So sorry, there's some mic adjustments I need to do before I join. Yeah. Good to be here. Looking forward to the call.
Yeah, I saw you put in quite some work to the handbook bounty. That's great.
Yeah, I think Legend has given some great feedback, so I worked on it and changed a couple of things. Um, I also spoke to Kirk about Grape.art, but I decided to not mention about it because I think a couple of announcements, as Kirk mentioned, have been pushed. So I was thinking, maybe we can later update it once it is all out there. Rest I had put in. I think a couple of more, feedback I got, which I'm gonna again work on it. Like they're very minute changes, so that will be done in like next 2-3 hours. So
Oh, great.
I think it's done from my side, but if there are any other suggestions, I'd be happy to accommodate.
Hey,
Yeah,
Sajal, I wanted to tell you, you did a great job. I mean, you're trying to get a lot of information from different points and different stuff that not only have been built, but also people have worked on in the past and also now. I know it's kind of hard to gather all that information. I don't know if you've referenced the infographic that Grape has, which is a really good resource with integrations. Grape has also. That's a nice way of saying, like, showing where also not only for the DAO handbook, but what integrations have we worked with, and expand on that. And what you're doing also raises something very interesting when you asked me that a few questions on Grape Art, is we don't have a place or someone that's or some place where we're expressing all the features. We've built a lot that's for technically the public good, and we haven't showcased all the features
yeah,
that are available, which would be really good. And no one has taken up the role, especially now that I think uh, I don't think our even our Twitter. I mean, I think that hasn't posted all the features that we have as Grape and what we've done, not only from verification that we've discussed, but also in Grape Art too, but other functionalities and features that we could offer in the ecosystem. So I think it's a good starting point with a handbook, but also later on to actually take a deep dive on what Grape has done already, and where we could showcase all the features and functionality that we have, so that people that want to use it are on board, where they're going to get utility and what they could get utility from.
yeah. I think I absolutely agree, Kirk. So I've also, I'll tell you the process that I followed. Of course, I did a lot of research and realized the information is very scattered, right? And even if it is there, it's like a lot of it is outdated, which means that we are now either moved on or we are doing more things, and it's not always like everything is not there. And the reason I couldn't mention everything because in the handbook they had asked, there was a lot of like this limitations on words, the characters. Basically there's a limit to you have to do only 100 words or these many characters, which is like they just want one liners, they don't want everything. But I think it's a good starting point, but we can
I
definitely maybe
think it's really important to maybe make a bounty for this to showcase XYZ products that Grape has, what the features and functionality, what the boarding process is, and how it benefits people. Like, projects have handbooks, they have flyers, they promote what they're building. So we haven't done that as Grape to date, and it would be really good if we did that. I mean, we had a content sub DAO. We have different features that could be taken and could be used by the broader community. In Great Part, we have a boarding process, and you can actually own your marketplace. And we respect royalties. We have the verification, which works well. We haven't showcased that yet, and we haven't explained to the community how they could board and what the benefits are. So I think that would be really nice to do a bounty, and maybe it should be a bounty per project of how it could be, so that we can see what the next steps are and think of marketing sides and aspects of where it is. I know we've been talking about DAO tooling, but we also have tools that we've already built out, and we could leverage that too and start building a process of marketing it out in the general ecosystem. And the way the ecosystem works is they listen to how much you're tweeting and how much you're repeating those tweets and how much you're saying the stuff, and then it kind of gets ingrained in people's perspective of what's out there. So it would be really good. People forgot that we had an open source marketplace, and it was interesting. I was talking to Armani the past week, and he told me literally with all that he's been hearing from hyperspace, he totally forgot that we made the first decentralized marketplace. And I have that in the DMs that he sent me, and he was telling me, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of it and make the most of it with people owning their marketplace. And there's a lot more that could be done. I mean, his building the backpack, which is fantastic, but him telling us also that we have opportunities and we have to leverage that is also where kind of I'm coming from with us making a bounty and having showcasing products that we offer, so that we keep on giving that message out that we do this.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think this is also a way for us to, just be in people's heads. So whenever they think of something, even of initiating something, right, they think of Grape. Okay, let's just go and talk to Grape because they have this thing, and like maybe there's a potential to collaborate or something. So I think that is something that, we can bring back when these are the things out there in public, and people don't have to go here and there to look for it. So yeah, I think that would be awesome. But yeah, but anything on the current handbook for the Ventures Club, I think I would be happy to listen to the feedback and make any changes.
Thank you again. It's you've done a great job, and whatever you need, reach out to every single one of us and keep on asking the questions. You've done a great job.
Thanks, Kirk, and thanks for patiently listening to my questions and answering, them. That was great. Like really helpful.
Okay. I just checked those quartz transactions, and there's some kind of error going on because it shows that there was a transaction from 1970.
When you see a 1970 error, it means that they're not parsing the date right. Something is going wrong there. It's the default start dates of what you would get when you don't have a date initialized.
Little funny error.
But that transaction is to add a new member, and I see the new member, it's me.
Well, otherwise, what am I seeing here? Our last transaction was November 8, which was rejected, so there's nothing to check for the last week, which means I've done my due for transaction monitoring.
We have some development subDAO bounded in review.
Yeah, our
Are they all done?
penalties, and we also have oh, sorry, we have. You guys hear me? 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to say that we released with regards to bounty, Fuzi Yeti, one of our users, we released on mainnet the boarding, and it's been completed, and he did a phenomenal job, guys. He did a great job. He did not only did he do the program from his end, but he wrote the SDK. This means a middle layer that anybody could communicate and could interact with our boarding process. They can even use our boarding process in their own projects. So he wrote this SDK so anybody could just compose and build off of it. And we put this on mainnet, I think Friday or Saturday. And we've been testing around. It works great. He did a phenomenal job. He did a lot. And it's also going to support Realms to be integrated with Realms eventually. So he's done all the work to have it ready, and we just need to connect that at some point so that we could also have Realms, and we could eventually have a sub DAO that could verify collections, and they could, let's say, enable them to show on Grape Art later on. So right now, we're going to have the submission process. It's going to be on chain. It's going to be transparent. But later on, we could also connect it with Realms.
I got lost. But overall, they're like So wrap tokens bounty. There's the contract for the collection boarding, which you were
No, no,
talking
it's
about.
this is for the collection
Yeah,
boarding.
yeah.
The
Well, I was
wrap
talking like
tokens.
yeah. I was talking about the three. I was like going by order of
Ah,
which is
okay.
showing
Yeah,
on the
wrap
screen. Yeah.
tokens. Wrap tokens has also been finished. We haven't made an announcement, but yeah, it's been finished. We added support. I've personally spoken to Jeremy from Cardinal for like I think we've been in constant discussions with him with royalties. So from our end, we wanted to make sure we do something that's going to work, that we could send wrap tokens using Cardinal. And we have that enabled now in the identity section in Grape Art. So you can send any wrap token. If you get the hypersphere, you could go to the identity page in Grape Art in your wallet, and you could send it from there, because if from your wallet directly, you're not going to be able to send it. And I also spoke to Armani about that, because he open sourced a bit of his code, but it's very hard for anybody to follow it. And we did, I told him we did an easier implementation that's much better than his. I told him, and he was laughing. But the truth is that anybody could reference our code too to compose it and use it, and there's to send these tokens that are royalty enforced.
Interesting.
Yeah. Personally, I would like to talk about the newsletter bounty first for a bit, and then we can go on to bounties in review, which is only developer bounties.
I mean, whatever you fine with.
Yeah, it's if Mr. Kirk is also fine with it, then let's go.
Guys, go ahead, do it. I might be a bit off, but just message me and I'll just hop back on if I'm not responding.
Okay. Should be pretty quick with newsletter submissions. So, you are submitting something, Legend, for newsletter?
Yeah. I I mean, there's the weekly newsletter on the dev work, but I assumed it's like a recurring one, so we need to make a new one every week, right?
If you check the discourse, which I just added to it, but I think you also. We discussed it, and it was agreed that every fourth issue should be receiving the payment. So
Okay.
it's 100,000 grape for four.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I understood now.
For 4 consecutive issues. So we can now record on Discourse that you have done the newsletter this week, and if you do another 3 newsletters, then you get the 100k grape.
Okay.
That's the way we set it up to incentivize consecutive newsletters and not something missing in between.
Yeah, but what I was saying is like after the four are done, the bounty itself gets done, and the new one gets made, right? For the date, like for the time frame.
For the next 4, likely yes.
Okay.
It's either a new bounty gets made, or we will start with this new newsletter system that I laid out. But I haven't had time to completely pull that together.
Okay, sure.
So yeah, if you can if you tweet it, then I just write in the Trello now that you submitted the content, and the tweet is
Yeah, before I
to
tweet it, I would like do I don't know, if someone just does a a review of it, saying like everything is right, if and nothing is missing. That's why I posted in the DAO channel. So first asking for the permissions for the pictures, and then if any information is missing from the last week, if anyone knows something that needs to be added, I will add. If nothing is, if everything's fine, I can like post in a tweet today, and I will do the same for this week.
I'm reading through.
Yeah, I actually wanted your feedback on maybe in the third paragraph, which I talk about the bounty call from last week, and for what I wrote is based on what I wrote last week, because I didn't attend it. So what I wrote is what I assumed happened during the bounty call. So I wanted to know if anything is wrong or out of the call, which is I said, but it's not didn't happen.
Uh, we mainly talked about, we had a long discussion, Archimedes and me mainly. We had a long discussion about future of bounty process with breaking it down into qualitative tasks and not so qualitative tasks. Hey, Archimedes.
Hello. Sorry I'm late for the stage. I was trying to coordinate certain things because it's nice and early for me here. I didn't want to interrupt you. You were on point.
I'm finished for the moment. Do you want to add something?
No, I think you enumerated a very interesting process that I think helps solve. We had a couple of discussions, right? We had bounty process being one of them, and we had a discussion on tasks, right? And identifying whether or not that's something probably the DAO should pick up for role creation. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, we were talking about breaking down the newsletter bounty into two DAO core groups, where one DAO core group would be basically very open to anybody who wants to step in, and anybody can also leave at any time. And this very open group would be responsible for gathering information. And then there would be another group which would be a little bit more closed and much smaller, about 3 people is the number I have in mind. And this would be the ones who actually do the writing and editing.
Yep. And that's because it's a recurring task that's expected to be done and not something that we think needs a bounty every time we need to make new issues of the newsletter. And it's a proof of concept for that type of process, right? Where we know we're going to have a bounty, and the bounty ends up turning into something that ends up becoming recurring value to Grape in some way. So definitely a good idea for the DAO to take that advice from the bounty discussion and move with it and confirm that, as far as the DAO is concerned, it's agreed upon by the DAO that this is something that the DAO thinks we need going forward. I think everybody agrees that the information that it gets put together in these types of things has attracted the right type of attention and should be something that's ongoing and considered valuable. So, thank you, Legend, for putting together the most recent one and looking forward to seeing the traction from others participating in it as well.
I mean, I've seen now what was the problem Taki had doing the newsletter. The thing is, to do the newsletter for the weekly, you gotta be on top of everything. It's kind of hard getting information for everything, and
Right.
you gotta dig very deep. And
Right.
do not forget some type of information. Go there, go this channel, go this person, go this Twitter, go Sebastian tweet. I mean, you gotta go everywhere, and yeah, I gotta. It's kind of hard. If you're not on top of everything Grape does, a DAO member, a community Grape member, you gotta miss a lot of things.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
the newsletter gonna help a little bit for people who are not that active. So and I think it's cool. It's good.
Do you think it makes more sense to transition it to a monthly based on your experience?
Yes, we wanted to do that.
Yeah. I'm just curious if somebody who's like done it now as well. I know Taiki's done it. I know Legend's done it, right?
Honestly, now I probably change my mind to weekly now, because monthly the information is gonna be very condensed, and you're
Yeah.
gonna probably miss maybe a lot more, maybe less. I don't know, but
Okay.
if it's done monthly, you're gonna be working a lot more. I think so. Weekly it's fine. So yeah, I changed my mind.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious if there's a way to help the process in which, is there a channel where people can post the most relevant updates that they think should go in the newsletter as candidates, and then you get to pick and choose from that list?
I don't,
Plus, whatever.
yeah, I don't think it's needed anymore, because people already
Got
write
it.
the channel by themselves. So
Yep.
every time people write on chat, that's the information at least.
Yeah.
Hey guys, quick question.
Hey.
That
Hey.
was.
And I don't want to presume how to do the process, and I know everyone works differently, but in my mind, isn't it easier to make a monthly newsletter, even if you say weekly would be easier for whoever is doing it? Whoever is doing it could write down on a weekly basis what they think is important and can make a rough draft of it, and they can treat it as if it were a weekly newsletter, but they aren't forced to do 4 times the work, like layout, editing, whatever. They need to do it once a month, and at the end of the month, they can look at what they wrote down weekly and then decide what to actually put into the newsletter. And it also doesn't create the pressure of delivering every week something that actually people want to read. So I think it's easier if you see it in a way that whoever is doing it does it on a weekly basis, but sums it up at the end of the month and gets the same as if he or she would have done it on a weekly basis. But at the same time, they aren't forced to deliver every week. So it's less work. Just my idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that makes sense. It's up to, it's up to whoever is going to be executing for them to run that upkeep. If that's the way that, it's recommended. Legend, what do you think of that? If let's assume you were the one having to do it, which you've already taken the initiative to do one
I mean,
now.
since I've taken the initiative, I think doing weekly, it's fine with me. I also said monthly before, but I changed my mind.
You might change your mind again if you do it a couple of weeks in a row.
Probably, I don't know. Let's see.
For me, I would prefer monthly also, because it makes it more meaningful. If you maybe something that just didn't happen anything big in this week, right? You still have to make the newsletter, and if
Right.
people read every week the newsletter, they like, oh, the guys in Grape are telling me again that they did what they did last week. Cool. But if you have a monthly newsletter, you can really show them cool things, because there's so much more time. And it's like, oh, the Grape newsletter arrived. Let's see what cool stuff they did.
Yep. And I think that there's probably a value add, because it's a DAO newsletter, right? Or is it the Grape newsletter? This is a question I was thinking about in terms of theme. And
What kind
one
of
of the
question
things,
are you bringing up? Isn't
here it
Grape a
comes. No,
DAO?
here it comes.
I only thought we had one newsletter. Now you'd say we're having two, or we should
No,
have
no,
two.
no, no, no,
Please,
no,
no.
no, 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 no. Just
I
coming back to
guess he means the recipients, who is it made for?
yeah, coming back to sorry, can you hear me?
You're back now.
Sorry, I was getting a call as I was talking to you guys, and it typically overrides what's going on the phone.
Early in the morning, you get called.
Yes, sir. I get called all the time. It's fun. So, what I was thinking is this: we have other initiatives and other things that I think we should probably add to this newsletter discussion. One of them is, how much do we talk about the products, and how much do we talk about the ways in which we're using, or somebody could be using the products? The Bears Reloaded topic of, we helped a DAO, another DAO, right? The topic on Grape Art and some of the updates and developments that are happening there. Oh, we have a governance portal now where you can get governance metrics. The discussion that just was brought up about, the SDK and the things that you could do with onboarding onto Grape Art and things like that. I think as a monthly newsletter, as a monthly update to let the world know what Grape is doing in general, I think we can really put our best foot forward to help with this and add value where everybody can kind of contribute or crowdsource some of the information to help whoever's creating the newsletter to remember, hey, let's get this in there, right? And have a focus that tries to call out things that Grape itself has done, not just what's going on in the ecosystem, right? But very specifically, always try and have a section or a location where, let's say at the end of every newsletter, there's and this is what Grape Art did this month, or this is what Grape Tools, what's new with Grape Tools, right? Something where we have a place or location where there's something that someone can take and we can tweet that information out as a community to let people know that we're not just standing still. There are things still being built in our in our sphere, and while everybody else might be, running around trying to take care of whatever the crisis du jour is for the given week or month, Grape is remaining focused and true to their vision of just continuing to build great tools that anybody can use, open source, you name it, right? Solving a lot of the problems that keep coming up that everybody else is sitting and they're battling each other, and here's Grape over here, just continuing down the path of solving those problems, and no one's actually calling us out and saying, oh, Grape has a decentralized marketplace where you can control your royalties and you can control it yourself and blah, 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 right? It's like, I find a lot of value in the tools that are being built, and I'm not seeing enough communication about them, so to speak. And I think the newsletter is probably a really good idea and where to summarize that. And it might require just a little bit of input from the rest of us to just put information out and do that. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. So what I gathered from what you said is that you would like to maybe break it down to different topics along these lines, like tools and DAO activity. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you have the DAO discussion.
Dimitri, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So that's exactly what Armani was telling me during the week. I mean, I've been talking to him almost every day, some stuff about backpack and other stuff. He told me this: you guys have a decentralized marketplace. Where's the marketing? Why is Hyperspace been marketing every day? Where's the marketing on that? So you're exactly on point. And it's also another thing. We don't have a voice in this ecosystem, where the ecosystem listens to these things. So Sajala is doing a good job now with DAO handbook, but I think the next big task and important task is what tools are being developed, how they're used, and to have that constant message out, which other projects do have a constant message, and they're really focused on that. I mean,
right.
All you have to do is promote it, and we're just lacking the promotion.
Well, that's
I
one
disagree.
thing. Well, let me be clear. There's also the point at which we build tools that we think people understand how they could be used. And I think there's a gap because we have a very clear understanding of how to use some of these tools and how we think that they'll help, right? Otherwise, why would we build them, right? And anybody else looking at them might not see it. And it might just be as simple as having one paragraph or a few sentences in these newsletters or wherever we're putting content that just calls it out, right? To make it easy and digestible for somebody to say, oh, why would I use the governance voting export so that you could reward your voters, so that you can assess what they're doing, right? So you can assess the health and activity in your own DAO. You know, that's just an example. And there's tons of tools. Burning mechanisms that enable you to close out and get, you know, some of the trapped soul from the scam tokens that you were getting. That was another tool that was out there that was capable of helping people. And everybody was talking about all the other tools. Well, we have a really great solution for that, which I personally used in a number of cases, and I managed to get a little bit of soul back, which is nice, you know. But I'm just saying it's nice to remember those and to put them in to the communications, not to shill Grape necessarily all the time as part of, hey, this is what the whole DAO ecosystem is doing, and oh, by the way, don't forget, here's Grape. It's like, no, there's real development going on and real product updates that can help benefit. And maybe it's a 5-bullet thing in every newsletter at the bottom that just says, hey, don't forget Grape Art. You could do this, you could do that, you could do this, connects to realms, and the verification adds in the value of you, making sure that you have only your community members and holders as part of it. Go get a GAN token, enjoy.
Let me give you a simple example. With the royalty situation, what was Grape's stance with the royalties? What was the message that Grape put out in the royalties?
I wouldn't be able to say with any definitive certainty.
There wasn't any. There wasn't any.
Yeah.
With regards to what's going on in the current events, you know, what is the stance? And with regards to asking for open source, what is the stance? There wasn't a clear message on it. And these are opportunities that, you know, if you want to expand on a project and develop on it, it's good. But we're missing out. And the same thing happened with Noah. Noah told me the same thing after Breakpoint. Where is the message? And people do listen to the shilling. People do hear Brian talk about where is the floor on hyperspace, and they think the floor is on hyperspace. So it's important to understand where the messaging is and how these things also work.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got it.
I don't understand this whole. You say we're missing marketing, okay, but even if we got the best marketing possible, what's going to happen? We don't have any revenue. The model is always we have some kind of revenue, activity, product, service, whatever you're selling, and now you spend dollars on marketing, and you expect to get more dollars back in revenue, so that the whole thing works. And we have no revenue source, and you want to throw money on marketing, so there's no sense in it for me. If you say we are like an
we're
open
not saying
project,
right
we
and red.
want
We're
to
not
gather
talking about
awareness.
marketing for revenue. We're talking about marketing with regards to or the promotion. How are the products that have been built? How are they communicated out? That's what we're talking about.
That's work.
When
That's work. You're basically
absolutely that's work.
Yeah, and
it needs good dedicated work too.
If you want it done on a professional level, you won't get around paying something. So either we are saying, okay, this is not about revenue, and we are already gathering awareness like an open source open source project, and when we are making this kind of PR work and posting our updates, that's the one thing. And I agree we could do better on that, but we won't get on a much higher level. We won't get on professional marketing level if we go that route.
Yeah, if I may, what I was suggesting to try and add this to the work that's already being considered here with the newsletter discussion and the fact that it would be something that would be ongoing reward, right? I think it makes sense to include a caveat and saying that it would be good for this to also include some references to the products, is all I'm saying, right? That there are 10 things that happen in the DAOs around Solana this month. Oh,
Yep.
And here's what Grape did to help support DAOs. Again, remember, here's what Grape has for DAOs, and here's what they did to build for DAOs. That's it. It's not additional marketing that's to everybody, gives everybody here the opportunity to read that take that information, distill it into something that's very clear, digestible, and we can all talk about it to anybody that we talk to about DAOs and anything else. Hey.
I agree with everything everybody's saying, and it's not only marketing. I think effective communication is listening and being a part of the conversation. And it seems that we could be a part of the conversation, and we're not. So, especially in the marketplace side, we should have had an active role communicating as Grape. Because we do have a decentralized marketplace, we are building all the primitives that are needed to be completely decentralized and run as a DAO. So if we don't hammer on that, who's going to do it?
It's not only who's going to do it, but who's going to know that we're doing it. I mean, Noah told me that also. You have to communicate the message. And so did Armani this week. He's like, oh my God, I forgot it. That's his word. That's his words he sent me. I forgot it completely. So these are good
Right.
points and good lessons to learn with what could be done.
Right.
And especially with Jordan, a Sexton from that I was also talking to, he told me the same thing with regards to what the need is of open source, and he called out Hyperspace and Magic Eden, and that they're not open source. These are all things that if you're able to do it, you could act on it smart, and you could kind of leverage that, and you could benefit us of what's being built and how the community can benefit of it. Nothing more than giving the message and sending that message out.
Exactly. And that's all I was focusing on, right? And the reason that we're talking about this during the bounty call is because if this is a handoff between the bounty, the DAO, I think that would be something that the DAO should probably be aware of, and something that I think we should bring up so that it's not, embedded in, we need another bounty for
it goes
something that
hand
should
in
already
hand.
exist.
What is being built, and after what's being built, how is that being put out there in the public? It's not just it's built, it's done, And also, as from our side as a developer, we can't do everything or tweet it all out. I mean, there should be a team, and there's a big team in Grape. And if projects also have respect and also love us and all that, I mean, they'll listen to the message that we're going to push out as Grape when it's unified.
Yeah, I agree. A very simple thing we can do right now is we are looking at this Twitter threads, so we can maybe just add a final tweet, so people who are really into this stuff, who read the whole tweet storm, they can, in the last tweet, there can be all the product links. What do you guys think about that?
It's a start. It's better than nothing. I think at present we have an inconsistency of this information being shared and being publicized in a way that people will always have access to it on a recurring basis, right?
Guys, I think we're forgetting, like, when we during the previous bowl, every single week, maybe even like every 3 days, we would have Starflash make nice flyers on Twitter, how many people were onboarded this week, which projects we onboarded. We were more active. We were
don't have a
trying to
Starflash
be more
now.
active with other communities. We're not doing that right now. Like, we could collaborate with other projects.
Let me tell you this, Billy.
On what their needs are, and I think we have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot more than we used to. So if you look at what we had, let's say last September, October, November, and how much more active our communication was then, I just can't understand. We have so much more now.
Yeah, but it's all comes back to what I said like 5 minutes ago. Currently, we have no idea how we are going to generate revenue from attention. So the highest level we are going to achieve on public relations work is not much higher than what we currently do. If you want to move beyond that, then we have to at least have some idea how we are going to generate revenue out of the attention we gather, because then we can put resources into marketing and gathering attention. but otherwise it is pointless.
Yeah, I think about it in terms of whether or not, this is necessarily a bounty discussion. And I
It's not,
started
but
on the bounty.
that's
No,
what we often slide into. Bounties
no,
have developed into like this great protocol project management stuff.
yeah, and please don't misunderstand me. It's just I want to make
Can
sure
somebody tell me
keeping us on track.
what the revenue stream is for Metaplex?
I have no idea. It's not my job. Somebody's ringing
I'm
my bell.
trying to understand because they've built primitives for Solana, and I'm trying to understand why they need a revenue stream to build things or communicate or be active.
They don't take fees, right?
It's either revenue stream to have
build
it's either
primitives.
sustainability with revenue or it's a runway and then need to raise further funds. These are your choices.
Yeah, but you can't start with revenue if you haven't built anything.
Yes, of course you can't. But we have been around for quite some time. Grape Protocol has been around for quite some time. We had funding. It was very public that Grape received funding. And now we are in a stage where basically we need to have a plan. Like Pause mentioned, I don't know when. And this plan should either be okay, we're going to continue in the sense that we want to be around forever. So we're going for sustainability and improving the ecosystem long term. Then we need to somehow sustain ourselves so that everybody can eat and pay rent. Or
Right.
we are going to say, okay, we have this treasury. Now we're making a budget and have a runway of a year, 2 years, whatever. And after that, we are turning the light off and say, okay, goodbye. This was great. Was fancy working with you.
That's a logical, and I think that's logical. And I also think the question should be, is that something that requires a bounty? And I think that's where the fruit of this being a bounty call comes in, right? Do we pass this off to the DAO and have the DAO discuss this? Or does this become something where we should be considering putting forward the notion of asking for a bounty for people to focus on this specifically to try and solve that specific task of helping us get there, right? To make that decision. How do we move forward with the tools we have? That's one thing. The newsletter, already something that's part of the bounty discussion, but when it hands off to the DAO, making sure that it has the added caveat of, hey, recurring theme needs to have a role for rewarding, and here's what we think it should include.
So you brought up two very interesting points. One is the DAO will eventually run out of funds if we use up our treasury, correct? So I just was looking at the moderators that requested that we prepay for the next 2 months for the moderating services. If we extrapolate that over a year, that's I think $30,000 to $40,000. So long term, will it be sustainable that Grape will be funding the moderators, or should the moderators also have a independent revenue source long term within Solana? Like, what makes sense for Grape?
The moderators are basically working off GAN. They are moderating GAN servers and Grape server, if I understood that correctly. Is that right?
Mainly Grape and GAN, yes.
Yeah, so this comes back again to if we decide that we want to have a runway and use up our treasury with expenses, and then when it's gone, say, okay, right off into the sunset, it's done. Bye-bye.
But again, the moderators, can't the moderator DAO be self-sustainable long term?
The
Can't
moderators
the
are a
moderator DAO
sub-DAO,
be
if I
providing
understand it
services
correctly.
to other Discord communities within Solana? Like long
They
term,
could.
for all of these sub DAOs to be like efficient and run on their own, they can't depend on the treasury. Like, it's not only the tools that we're building that could help bring recurring revenue to Grape, but it's also the service DAOs. They can't be based on grants forever. So we need to we need to think of models in which they work as service DAOs where the client is not only Grape.
Yeah, this would be a very good idea. I agree.
Right. And the question there is that something that we should put forward a bounty to have somebody make that outline, or is that something that the DAO should start discussing?
No, I that's the goal. I mean, ideally, that's what I would love to see, empowering these sub DAOs to be completely independent. But we need to first see where we are, within that framework, and are we expecting to see these sub DAOs actually be completely independent or not? And if they're not, maybe that's not a good initiative, and we should focus on other initiatives.
Yep,
Yeah, basically what we need is a business strategy.
Right. And I think that that's a really interesting idea if we wanted to put that forward as a, and I'm not saying we would put forward a bounty that would decide it, right? I'm saying the ideation reward it for people putting together conceptual outlines of how Grape can approach things with everything that we have at our disposal, and maybe make that a bounty, just to get the ideas. I'm not saying we would choose the one that wins, quote unquote, but I think collectively, using all the ideas that could come from something like that, you reward some amount of Grape for contributing to the vision that could help the DAO make the information, just like CryptoPause was putting together the Miro board following the Sunday DAO call. I would look at that as an initiative in which, that's a task that that deserves a reward, because it's going to take time for everybody to put that information in, and for somebody to sit and review it and to be able to present it, right? Distill it into, hey, here's what we get out of this as a community. So I'm also trying to use the fact that this is the bounty focused call on the fact that, is this a bounty, right? And it's something that's coming from the fact that we know that there's an initiative from the DAO side.
I don't think it's important if it is a bounty or not, Archimedes, and that this is a bounty call it's just like a coincidence. This is the biggest issue, the biggest question we have in Grape. So I think we should throw bounties out the windows and focus on that right now.
Okay, good. I'm doing a sanity check to make sure I'm not hijacking any calls by
You're sane.
Started that. Thank you, sir.
Well,
okay, so
go ahead.
Sorry, please, after you.
I was just about to say, if we, so from my experience here in DAOs and in Grape, the low degree of responsibility and the high amount of work, quantitatively and also qualitatively, that is required to come up with such a strategy, we will have very few submissions for such a bounty, and the DAO at large will likely only be able to decide on a complexity level of what, along the lines of what Paul's put forward with a very well-made staking proposal. So it's basically our job to provide to the DAO such a format where they can decide between a few key points. That's the rough way I think we should move forward with that, to come up with some framework that we can then present to the DAO to make a decision.
Yeah, that sounds fair. And I agree with your sentiment, Writer in Red, just so we're clear, because what you're saying is logical. And I think that this has been the sentiment that we've been trying to get back into the mix without it being the core focus of everything, but because it's unclear, it needs some type of clarity for us to be able to say, yes, we have a plan.
Yeah. Let alone the question that if the sub-DAOs should be independent in the sense that they are not wholly dependent on Grape, but also interacting with outside entities, not through Grape, but on their own. That's a big question in itself.
I would add to that, because I think it's important to put that in the right frame, right? It's not so much that we don't necessarily want sub-DAOs to be independent as a group. I'm not saying we as in I'm the one that's the only one thinking this. I think for decentralization purposes, you want sub-DAOs that can operate independently, but the initiative that they're trying to solve for, as far as Grape is concerned, the fact that people are being productive in a sub-DAO is great, but is it something that is going to benefit Grape in the way that Grape needs that benefit, right? And if the plan is that the products can yield some type of value back to Grape, then I think it would be fruitful for us to say that there should be some effort in any sub-DAO that would be operating on behalf of Grape and the Grape DAO to be moving forward in a unified approach that utilizes something that's unified for the vision of Grape, which I think that the vision discussions that we started on Sunday are probably going to yield some value in us identifying, what is it that we're supposed to be doing for Grape? And some people think they know the answer, but when you zoom out, does it actually yield back to the DAO? It may yield value back to the sub-DAO because they're executing something which is great, right? GAN is yielding value back to the GAN sub-DAO, and you require Grape because it's a Grape-backed token, sure. But does that yield value back to the Grape DAO? Are the people who are operating in that capacity coming back? And when I look at it, Legend, who is one of the core people, and sorry for calling you out on this, Legend, is clearly one of the examples I can use to say, look, this is how it's done. We have somebody that's part of the DAO coming in, participating in the DAO, and supporting a very important initiative for Grape, which is the GAN network. Why is the GAN network important? It's the utilization of all the tools that are being built by Grape and supporting other DAOs and supporting other projects and creating the network of those projects. So going down that whole path, I think it's important that we realign to the fact that sub-DAOs should be independent to be able to operate, but they should also contribute back in a way that sticks to the ethos of what Grape is trying to accomplish, right? And make the user experience for everybody that's using Grape better. I think that's, if I were to sum it up, that would actually be the first task. And from there, you'll find the answer on how to approach this problem. How hard is it for somebody to understand that what they need to be able to use Grape or to be able to use any of Grape's services or sub-DAOs is, all I need is Grape, but then I need to go purchase tokens XYZ. And what do I do with those tokens? And where do I put them? And how do I interact with the platform? And how do I use Grape Art? All these things coming back full circle. Make it simpler, not more complicated, whilst making it decentralized.
You were pretty detailed at the end there.
I've given it a lot of thought. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. It's good thinking. At the same time, I think we are, well, some people, some persons have, like you have personally thought very deeply about this, but my impression of where the DAO is on their level of consciousness is that the DAO is still on broad strokes, and the high level questions like should we be an incubator or a service provider? And only once we know what we will do or what we want to do, then we can move forward in a meaningful way. Because I personally I want to build something great. That's what I am about personally. Whatever I am doing, I want to know that it's good. As far as I am able to do it, I want to know that I did my best and that I produced the best quality I could produce. And that doesn't mean that I strictly prefer incubator or service provider or one way versus no runway, which would mean revenue and being here in perpetuity as Grape. I don't have a clear preference on that. I just want to build something great. So what is holding us back from doing that currently is that we don't know which direction we want to take. We don't have an agreement.
Yep. So consensus is next.
Butter, what do you mean by PMF? Oh yeah. Archimedes, would you like to talk to Butter's question?
Yeah, I think that that's an interesting question. And I think it goes into the specifics on, you know, zooming out and looking at it as there are products, there's things that have already been built, there's things that we already have. We have resources at our disposal today. And I feel like a lot of the time we're spending time thinking about what's next, what's next, what's next. And we should look behind us and see the trail we've left. To potentially put it into that vein and at least create models or at least some explainers of the product marketing fits that could exist, right? So I think that that's a valuable viewpoint, and I think that that's an important way to put it, because at the end of the day, we want more people to use the tools that we're building. We're not building them for ourselves just alone, right? This is for all of Solana. This is for DAOs, right? We're solving XYZ problems that we think will be challenges that other DAOs are going to face because they're challenges we're facing as a DAO, and people tout us as the DAO, right? The DAO to go talk to when you want to build a DAO. So we should be, I think we should be putting it in that vein. Yeah, and I think Writer in Red summarizes it nicely. And CryptoPause, yes. I think the user stories are a really good example of getting that perception down and really evaluating what we internally even see. Yeah, that's nice, Butter. Thank you, and appreciate the fact that you're thinking about it in this way, because this isn't just us talking about this on a stage so that we can deliberate about it and forget about it. We're calling on anybody who's interested in participating in thinking about this and really coming up with and helping us all collectively come up with ideas. Feel free to speak. This is not putting guardrails up for no reason so that you have to follow certain guidelines. It's some type of guiding principles that help others understand simply where they can fit into our vision as we discuss it. So any and all information that we focus on and really work on here is good.
Yeah, I think we should also push this in the DAO call. But I would want to wrap up the bounties that have been completed. I want to make sure that the great boarding does get paid to the member that did the incredible work for the boarding process. The cardinal thing has been completed also, the thing that you mentioned also. So those are completed. Legend, thank you for taking the role of the newsletter too. That's going to be great. And I think the DAO call should be a good platform for us to discuss what the future is in Grape, because there was one point that said, what does everybody want to contribute and what is for the next 12 months? And that's an important question that should be answered in the DAO call.
Okay.
Yep, and if it's not answered in the DAO call, I think things like what Butter just mentioned, taking his musings to discourse and really putting things forward, that's all we ask of everybody that is part of this community, right? If you have ideas and you want to share them and you think they can help solve for some of the things that we think are challenges, we want to hear it. Everybody's ideas are welcome, especially if you've spent a lot of time and thought around how to solve them. So thank you.
So, Red, what do we do? What are the next steps with regards to the bounty for Fuzi Yeti? I think Sejong also has her bounty. I'm not sure if that's completed also. What are the next steps so that we can approve those bounties for that?
We can. So up until now, we have done this kind of unofficially, but I would like to move this, make this somehow like more of official. For your bounties, the bounties you propose as development sub-DAO lead, I think nobody here beside you and Billy has the competence to check if the amount you propose for a bounty is correct. So
For both
I
of
would
those
just say
bounties,
we are
for
going.
full transparency, for the development ones, the source of the repos is shared. It was the Yeti's bounty for the boarding. We did an update in the program, and we've been talking to the folks with Anchor to get a verifiable build. So that we could have a link that's going to be live later on today, but it's already working both on DevNet and on mainnet. We just want to get a verifiable build if possible. If not, we'll have the boarding process working without a verifiable build. And it's going to be with a regular build, like 99% of the projects are here in Solana. So I'll share the link also, but the project has been completed for the boarding and has done an incredible job. We need developers like this and developers that want to learn. So this is really good contribution. It's like no other contribution we've had.
F City is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
on DWork yet.
He's not on DWork yet. He asked me if he has to claim the bounty or something like that. I'm not sure if he has to do that, but I'll reach out to
No, he
him and let
doesn't
him
have
know.
to.
He doesn't have to. Okay.
He doesn't have to. We only need an address for him by him for payment. And
He's gonna he asked actually that the remaining 500 USDC, that's going to be in Grape, and if he could get that in USDC because of the decrease in price in Grape. So what I told him is for my bounty for the Cardinal, rather than giving me the 500, we'll give it to Fuzieti, and I'll get the Grape from that. So he'll I just want him to be happy because he did an incredible job with it. And it's he got
I'm not about to
well.
mix funds between bounties. This is too confusing, too muddling. We are going to take
Well,
this on a bounty base.
we could send it to a squad's wallet, and we could just distribute it from there.
Like I said, we are going forward. We are going to trust you as core developer
Yeah.
and DAO leader that your completion rewards are correct, because there's truly no way to check this. So
yeah,
you propose 2,000 USDC and 100k Grape or 500 USDC for collection onboarding. So
correct, and we'll give two addresses for that, and one will be for Yetis, and the other one's going to be in a multi-sig, and we'll send it from there.
Okay, then I will note that down. And you would, what would you like to? How much to each address? This is question.
No, the multi-sig would go for the Grape. I'll share that also and we'll send it directly for Zieti, and then the other one will go directly for Zieti. And the other one for the Cardinal one, I'll make sure that goes also because he wants 500 in USDC rather than Grape. So I'll make sure he gets paid out of that.
I'm kind of losing your train of thought here. So what I gather is he completed the collection onboarding, so he should be
2,000 USDC plus 100,000 Grape. The price of Grape has decreased, so he asked me if he could have the 500 in USDC.
Okay, so I will get 2,500 USDC.
Oh, if that's possible, even better then.
If the completion reward is correct, and as I said, I'm trusting you.
Even better.
Then personally, I don't see a problem with that.
Great.
Okay. So are we good to call it for the bounty call?
Yeah.
Dankeschön. I need to get better on my pronunciation so that
Oh, you're doing fine.
I'm going to get there someday, I promise.
You're passing as 1.5 years living in Germany.
I knew a few friends, and I only know bad words in other languages, so I'm trying to learn how to actually carry a conversation. So
This
forgive
remembers
me.
me of Dinah teaching me the word for work in Spanish, which definitely wasn't the right word.
It sounds like Dynamite.
So do we conclude this bounty call and we can start the DAO call?
Yes, we can start with our call now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.